Hello, everybody. Welcome to Voices Big and Small. On this episode, we're going to be taking a look at a voice actress whose career has spanned across 5 decades: 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and even up to date 2020. We're going to be looking at the long career of Mona Marshall, who many of you have probably heard her voice over the years, but never realized that it was her who was doing some of the voices. Because Mona Marshall is one of a handful of voice actresses who's made a career out of voicing young male characters. So, without no further ado, let's take a look at Miss Marshall and take a look back over her 5 decade long career. Mona Marshall is an American voice actress known for her work in a number of cartoons, anime shows, films, and video games. Her major credits include South Park, where she voices many of the female characters on the show, Fraggle Rock, the animated series, CBS Story Break, and Digimon. She has also appeared on stage for television shows um, such as Cheers and Who's the Boss. Marshall has a theater background and trained for the stage. When she was teaching fifth grade, the mother of one of her students suggested she enroll in a voiceover class taught by Daws Butler, the voice of Yogi Bear and Quick Draw McGraw and a few other Hanna-Barbera characters. The late legendary Daws Butler. She is often cast in the roles of young male characters. Her roles have included parts in not only in American animated television series and several animated feature films, but also in Japanese anime. That's at the beginning. Anyways. Her most notable roles in American cartoons are Sheila Broflovsky, 1999 to the present, after original voice actress Mary Kay Bergman committed suicide, and Linda Stotch on the popular television show South Park, as well as the title character in Doraemon and Kite, the main protagonist in the 2002 video game series Dot Hack for the Kite. Title character in Doraemon and Kite, the main protagonist in the 2002 video game series Dot Hack for PlayStation 2. Marshall voiced the talking bear Kobe the study buddy, and she also provided the English voice for the title character in El Chavo, the animated series. Outside of voice acting, Marshall has coached others on the craft and has worked on a singing career with solo songs she would perform on stage. Oh, interesting stuff there. Now, with some of the basic biographical information out of the way, let's take a look at her roles over the years. As I said, going all the way back to the 1980s, so going all the way back to 1981, where her career started. One of her first roles she was cast in was as the voice of Betty Brant, the 1981 Spider-Man series. Also in 1981, she was cast as the voice of Weepy Smurf in the Smurfs. Then she was cast in I believe this was the Harmony Gold English dub of Mazinger Z in 1983. She was cast in English voices of Jessica Davis, Toad Davis, Chris, and Mrs. Davis. I'm looking at some of these. They kind of remind me of Superbook, some of the animation from Superbook, which was around the same time. Also in 1983, she was cast the English voice, she was cast as the voice of Penny in Inspector Gadget. Then, as we head into 1984, in Rainbow Bright, she was cast as the voices of Red Butler, Canary Yellow, and Patty O'Green. And then, now for those of you who like me, grew up on the Transformers, the Generation One Transformers cartoon, she would lend her voice to the space alien Aaron, who believed that the Autobots and Decepticons were his toys in that one episode, and Prince Jamal later in the series, who called Slingshot an old clunker. Then in 1985, she was cast in Here Comes the Littles as Mrs. Evans. And then she would, of course, in the movie Rainbow Bright and the Star Stealer, she would reprise her roles as Canary Yellow, Red Butler, and Patty O'Green. Then, as we move ahead to 1986, in the real Ghostbusters being the Ghostbusters movie based on, the Ghostbusters cartoon based on the movie of the same time period. Tiny Tim, she was cast as the voices of Tiny Tim and the Ghost of Christmas Past. Also in 1986, in the cartoon Rambo and the Forces of Freedom, she was cast as the voice of Catherine Ann Cat Taylor, capital K period, capital A period, capital T period. Catherine Ann Taylor Cat. Also in 1986, in Glow Friends, she was cast as the voice of Glow Scuttlebug. Also in 1986, she was cast in Chuck Norris Karate Commandos as Too Much. She was also cast in the animated movie Shadow World as Mark. As we now move ahead to 1987, in Fraggle Rock, the animated series, she was cast as the voice of Moki Fraggle. Also in 1987, in the cult classic cartoon Spiral Zone, she was cast as the voices of Corporal Katerina Anastasia and Duchess Dyer. Um, in 1988, in the Canterville Ghost, she was cast as the voice of Ted Otis. Then for 1991, she would lend her voice to a number of one-off characters in Rugrats, which would include Clarice, the Checkout Girl, Bully, Gabriel, Big Lady, and Alex. Also in 1991, in James Bond Jr., she would be cast as the voice of Tracy Milbanks. Then as we move ahead to 1993, in 'Twas the Day Before Christmas, she was cast as the voices of Rusty, Bluebell, and Berbette. Then as we move ahead to 1995, she would be cast in the movie The Thief and the Cobbler as the voices of the nanny and the mad holy old witch. Probably her first anime role came in 1995 as well, as she was cast as the English. Well, actually, no, this wasn't her first anime role because it was actually Maze Z. Um, Actually, this would have been probably her second anime role. Um, she was cast as the English voice of Nahato in El Hazard, The Wanderers in 1995. Then, as we move ahead to 1996, in the Three Little Pigs, the movie, she was cast as the voices of Felix, Mrs. Budno, and Hen. Mrs. Budno and Hen. Then in the Eagle Riders cartoon in 1996, she was cast as Mickey Dugan. And then in the, I believe it was the anime's dub of Street Fighter 2V in 1997, she was cast as the English voice of Menu. And I think we've hit upon probably, according to this, it looks like she did a lot of voices in South Park. Probably her most notable roles were, of course, Sheila Broflovsky, but she's apparently done a number of voices, lent her voice to a number of characters in South Park. But most notably as Sheila Broflovsky. If you are familiar with the works I've already mentioned, then you'll probably know which character she voiced in South Park as well, aside from Sheila Broflovsky. Blah 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 blah. Then in 1997 as well, in Saban's Adventures of Oliver Twist, she would be cast as the voice of Oliver Twist, the lead character there. Then in the new Chucklewood Critters cartoon, she would apparently reprise her roles from earlier. Let me see. What was the show? Oh, from Twas. She would reprise her role from reprise her roles from Twas the Day Before Christmas. That TV special in reprise her role in the new Chucklewood Critters cartoon of Rusty, Bluebell, and Berbette. And then in the Brave Fencer Musashi video game in 1998, she'd be cast as the voice of Musashi. And then in the anime, in the OVA, Mobile Suit Gundam 0080 The Pocket, she would be cast as the English voice of Al's mother, as well as Shay. Again, if you guys know these roles, if you remember hearing her in these roles, you'll definitely know her voice. I'm sure you all have probably heard it time and again over the years. Also, that was in 1999, by the way. Also in 1999, in Fist of the North Star, she was cast as the English voices of Taki and Yu. In Saber Marionette J again, she was cast as the English voice of Otaru Mamiya, lead character. In Digimon Adventure, she'd be cast as the English voice of Izzy Izumi. In Cowboy Bebop, she would be casting as the voice of Wen. In Rurouni Kenshin, she'd be cast as the English voices of Sojiro Seta, Yutaro Tsukayama, and Shinta. In the Ninja Cadets OVA, she'd be casting as the voice of Pochi. In Trigun, she would be casting as the voice of Katie. In Jungle de Eco, by the way, the Trigun, the Ninja Cadets, Rurouni Ken, this is all in 2000. All her 2000, her credits from 2000. In Jungle de Eco, she would be casting as the voice of Ongo. In Handmaid May, she would be casting as the voice of Masato Zine. In Digimon Adventure 02, she would reprise her role as Izzy Izumi. In 2000, she'd be cast as the voices of Bai-Sha. In Jackie Chan Adventure, she'd be cast as the voices of Bai-san, Po Kong, and Jade's mother. She would, of course, then reprise her role as Izzy Izumi, as well as being cast in the English role of Terriermon in Digimon the movie in 2000. In the OVA 3x3 Eyes Legend of the Divine Demon, she would be cast as the English voices of the Doll Demon and Grandma Ayano Koji. In Street Fighter Alpha the movie in 2000, okay, that was in 2001. Also in 2001, Street Fighter Alpha the movie, she'd be cast as the English voice of Shun. In the Big O, she would be casting as voice of Sybil Rowan. In Arc the Lad, she'd be cast as the English voice of Paco. Also in 2001, in the Mobile Suit Gundam 08th MS Team anime, she'd be cast as the English voice of Other Shiro. In Magic Knight Rares, she'd be cast as the English voice of Ascot. In Digimon Tamers, she would of course reprise her role as the English voice of Terriermon, as well as be cast as the English voice of Gargomon, Rapidmon, and Mega Gargomon. Also in 2001, in The Mummy, the animated series, she'd be cast as the voice of Emperor Jin Woo. As we now move ahead to 2002, in the anime Vandred, she was cast as the English voice of Mrs. Gisborne. In Love Hina, she would be cast as the English voice of Motoko Ayama, or Aoyama. Um, in the Digimon Rumble Arena video game, she would reprise her roles as Terriermon and Mega Gargomon. In Red Hawk Weapon of Death animated movie, she'd be cast as the voice of Kowan. In Digimon Frontier in 2002, she'd be cast as the English voice of Lucemon. In Tokyo Pig, she'd be casting as the voice of Eggman. In X, she was cast as the English voice of Naraku. In the Rocket Power Beach Bandits video game, she was cast as the voice of Eric Golem Jr. In the Ratchet and Clank video game, she would be cast as the voices of Help Desk Girl, Ed, and in parentheses Weena, and Helga. In the Mission Impossible Operation Surma video game, she was cast as the voice of Jasmine Curry. As we move into 2003 with that video game. Also in 2003, in the Kids 10 Commandments Toying with the Truth movie, she was cast as the voices of Ephraim and Hannah. Hannah the goat, I guess. She would, of course, reprise her role in the movie Kids 10 Commandments. The rest is yet to come. Oh, I guess this was a series of movies, Kids 10 Commandments. She would, of course, reprise her roles as Ephraim and Hannah, as well as playing voicing Miriam in the Not So Golden Calf, as well as Stolen Jewel, Stolen Hearts. These are all basically movie episodes of these, and A Life and Seth Situation. So she was involved in if for those of you who may have saw the Kids 10 Commandments. And then also in 2003, she would of course that another one of her big of her more well known roles. This is actually one of roles this is one of the roles that she had that where I actually got kind of connected to anime was in Dot Hack Shine. She was cast as the English voice of Kite, and of course she would also um, be Kite in the Dot Hack Infection video game. She was basically Kite throughout the Dot Hack franchise. In the Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald, the Monster of McDonald Lock movie in 2003, she was the voice of the kids. In Chobit, she was cast as the English voice of Minoru Kokubunji. In A Little Snow Fairy Sugar, she was cast as the English voice of Alan. She would, of course, then reprise her role as Kite in Dot Hack Mutation video game. In the anime If I See You in My Dreams, she was cast the English voice of Namiko Isobe. In Rugrats All Grown Up, she was cast as a few characters, including the Middle Kid, Elves, Flounder, and Roger. In Sakura Wars, the movie, she was cast as the English voice of Lenny Milchtras. Try saying that one fast. She would again, of course, reprise her role as Kite in Dot Hack Outbreak video game. In Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, she would provide the voice for the Help Matron. In the Leave It to Kero theatrical version short, she would be cast as the English voice of Shaoran Lee of course, Card Captors Tsubasa fame. In Last Exile, she would be cast as the English voice of Luciola. Also in 2003, in the Card Captor Sakura, the movie 2, The Sealed Card, she would reprise her role as the English voice of Shaoran Lee. She would, of course, then reprise her role as the English voice of Kite in Dot Hack Quarantine video game. In the Drakengard video game, she would be cast as the English voices of Angelus and Ser. She was just the voices. I don't know. In Tenchi Muyo GX, as we now get into 2004, in Tenchi Muyo GXP, she would be cast as the English voices of Ryooki Shuiren, Noike Kamiki, Ryoko, Waboy, and Funaho Masaki. Also in 2004, in Wolf's Rain, she would be cast as the English voice of Toboe. Okay, as we move ahead here, also in 2004, in Dot Hack Legend of the Twilight, she would be cast as the English voice of Daisuke. Also in 2004, in Rave Master, she was cast as the English vocal character. Well, the English version of the vocal characterizations of Plu, as well as providing the English voices of Sakura Glory and Hidara Musica, the young Hidara Musica. Then in Fighting Spirit, also known as Hajime no Ippo, she would be cast as English voices of Dr. Tomoko Yamaguchi, Chana, Sendo's grandmother, Manabu, Vorg's mother, and Miyuki. In the Star Ocean Till the End of Time video game, she was cast as the voice of Roger S. Huxley. In the anime Erda, the Third Reich, she was cast as the voice of Grimhild Kurtz. In the Nutcracker and the Mouse King animated movie, she was casting as the voice of Walla. Okay. In the Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal video game, she would of course reprise her role as Helga, as well as providing the voice of Helen. As we now move into 2005, in the Toy Warrior movie, she was cast as the voice of Jinbo. In the movie Son of the Mask, I guess she did the voiceover for Baby Alvy Avery. That was a live action movie. In the new Getter Robo anime, she would provide the English voice for Raiko Minamoto. In Zatch Bell, she was casting as the voice of Yuta. In the Rave Master Special Attack Forces video game, she would reprise her role as Plu. And then in Rave Master, the video game, she would also reprise her role as Plu. In Battle B Damon, she would be casting his voice of Bull. In the Little Alvin and the Mini Monks movie, she was cast as Lalu's Toilet. Oh boy. That must have been a fun role for her to take part in. In Scrap Princess, she was cast as the English voice of Sutton. In the Tenchi Muyo Ryo-Oki anime, she would be cast as Raya Masaki. The voice of that. In Digimon Revenge of Daiboromon movie, she would reprise her role as Izzy Izumi. She would then reprise her roles as Terriermon, Gargomon, and Rapidmon in the Digimon Tamers Battle of Adventures movie. In Naruto, in 2005, she would be cast as the English voices of Inari, Ryugan, and Haku, a young Haku. In Here Comes Peter Cottontail, the movie, 2005, she would be cast as the voices of Mother Mouse and the little girl. In the Digimon Tamers Runaway Locomon movie, she would reprise her roles as Terriermon and Mega Gargomon. In Ratchet Deadlock video game, she would provide the voices for kids A and C. In Grandia 3, and now as we head into 2006 here, in the Grandia 3 video game, she would provide the English voice of Bianca. In Atelier Iris 2, the Azoth of Destiny video game, she would provide the English voice of Poe. In the Arthur's Missing Pal movie, based on the Arthur TV show, she would be cast as the voice of Rosie. In the Bleach anime, she was be cast as the young Ichigo, the English voice for the young Ichigo Kurosaki. In Bo, she would be cast as the young Bo. Try saying that one 3 times fast. Also in 2006, and knowing to your other self, she would be cast as the English voice of Asuka Kaminogi. In the Happy Cricket movie, she would be cast as the English voice of Cardabella. In Dot Hack GU Volume 1 Rebirth video game, she would be cast as the English voice of the Azure Kite. In Disgaea, she'd be cast as the English voice of Koganetsky. In Artonaliko, she'd be cast as in 2007. She'd be cast in Artonaliko, Melody of Elemia, as the voices of Hama and Tastelia Delu. She would reprise her role as Azure Kite in Dot Hack GU Volume 2 Reminisce video game. In Rosen Maiden, she would be cast as the English voice of Jun Sakurada. In Kashimashi Girl Meets Girl, she'd be cast as the English voice of Tomari Kurusu. Also in 2007, in Blue Dragon, she was cast in the Blue Dragon video game. She was cast as the voice of the English voice of Shu. In Dot Hack GU Volume 3 Redemption, she was cast. She would reprise her role as the English voice of Azure Kite. In Eternal Sonata video game, she was cast as the voices of Beat and Ludvika Jadir Chozra. In Digimon Data Squad, she'd be cast as the English voices of Frigimon, young Thomas Norstein, and King Drasil. She would reprise her role as Jun Sakurada in Rosen Maiden Tromend. In the Trauma Center New Blood video game, she would be cast as English voices of Marcy Bloom, Sister Catherine Jackson, and Chandler Forbes. In Naruto the Movie 2, Legend of the Stone of Galal in 2008, she would be cast as the English voice of Temujin's childhood friend. In the Fly Me to the Moon movie in 2008, she would be cast as the voice of Maggot Number 2. Man, isn't that something to be proud of as part of your... Hey, and Fly Me to the Moon, I got to play a maggot. Anyways, In Moribito, Guardian of the Spirit, she'd be cast as the English voice of Shagun. In Tales of Vesperia video game, she'd be cast as the English voice of Belius. Also, in the Eternal Poison video game, she would be cast as the English voice of Lavat. And as we get into 2009, in All My Buddha, she'd be cast as the English voice of Sakura Sugai. She would reprise her role as Sakura Sugai in All My Buddha Katsu. She would reprise her role as a young Ichigo Kurosaki in Bleach, the Diamond Dust Rebellion movie. And of course, in Naruto Shippuden in 2009, she would reprise her role as a slightly older Inari, as well as being the English voice, being cast as the English voice of Biwako Sarutobi. In the South Park Let's Go Tower Defense video game, she would reprise one of her roles from the earlier series as Red. In Kanokan, as we now head into 2010, in Kanokan, she would be cast as the English voice of Kota Oyamada. Also in 2010, in Kikaishi, she would be cast as the English voice of Yumeko Haman no Koji. In Atelier Rorona, the Alchemist on Arlen video game, she would be cast as the English voices of Horoholo and Cole Dueler. In God's Eater Burst in 2011, in the God's Eater Burst 2011 video game, she would be cast as the English voice of Shio. She would then reprise her role as Kota Oyamada in Kanokan OVA. Kanokan. She would reprise her role as June Sakurada in the Rosen Maiden Overture anime. As we now head into 2012, in the South Park Tenorman's Revenge video game, she would be cast as the voice of Foxy the Fox. In Blue Exorcist, she'd be cast as the English voice of Kone Komaru Miwa. In Fate, as we head now into 2013, in Fate Zero, she'd be cast as the English voice of the young Shiro Emiya. In the Monsters University movie, she would be cast as the voice of Emmett. She would reprise her role as Kone Komaru Miwa in the Blue Exorcist OVA, as well as the short. As basically throughout the Blue Exorcist franchise, she would provide the English voice of Kone Komaru Miwa. In B. Daman Crossfire, she'd be cast in the English voice of Kakaru Riki Ryugasaki. In the Bravely Default video game in 2014, she'd be cast as the English voice of Egil Meyer. She would then play a number of roles in the South Park the Stick of Truth video game in 2014, including Foxy the Fox, Mrs. Tweak, Linda Stotch, Millie Larson, Monica Ryland, Mrs. Biggie, Red, and Sheila Broflovsky. Also, in the 2014 dub of the 2005 Doraemon anime, she would be cast, of course, as the English voice for the lead character Doraemon. She would also be cast in the computer animated movie Stand By Me Doraemon as the English voice of Doraemon. And in the animated movie Inside Out movie, she would be cast as Mom's Disgust. As we now head into 2015, in the movie The Prophet, She was cast as the voices of the bride's mother, female guest number 2, and female villager number 2. In Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Work, she would again reprise her role as the young Shiro Emiya. In the Only Yesterday anime movie in 2016, she was cast as Taeko's grandmother, English voice Taeko's grandmother. In the movie DC Superhero Girls Hero of the Year, she was cast as the voice of Eclipso. In Also in 2016, in Digimon Adventures Try, she would be cast as the English voice of. I believe in fact, this may be a reprisal of the role of Koshiro Izumi. She would then reprise her role as Eclipso in Lego DC Superhero Girls in the 2017 short, as well as reprising her role in the movie Lego DC as Eclipso in Lego DC Superhero Girls Brain Drain. Once again, in the Blue Exorcist Kyoto Saga 2017 anime, she would, of course, reprise her roles as the English voice of Kona Komaru Miura. In the South Park The Fractured But Whole video game, she would be a number of characters, including reprising some of her roles, such as Sheila Proflowski, Mrs. Stevens, and Mrs. Tucker, among others. In I, Tenchi Muyo in 2018, she'd be cast as the English voice of Hachiko. In 2019, in the Amphibia animated cartoon, she would be cast as the voice of Sylvia. And then in the computer animated Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex 2045, she would be cast as the English voices of Gary's wife and Kaede. So those are all the roles of Mona Marshall. So hopefully that gave you a good look at somebody who's been at this for the last 5 decades here, going all the way back to the 80s. Quite an impressive amount of work there. It practically tired me out just having to read all those. So, with that, guys, as always, if you want to contact me directly, you can direct message me. My Discord link is in the links below. You can message me there or leave a comment in the community tab of my channel. I will usually respond to you pretty quickly. I'm still, of course, promoting a bunch of different dub companies. I'm also still promoting the Vic's GoFundMe, as well as Tug and Lug's comic project. As always, never feel like you have to donate. If it's on your heart to do so and you have the means to, please consider donating. If you've already donated, please consider donating again. And if you cannot donate, please consider, if you cannot donate, you can still help out the cause by sharing the link. Sharing is caring. You never know. Maybe somebody in your circle of friends will want to help out. Also, if you like this content, please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. I always look forward to the conversation with you guys as long as it's civil and respectful. I generally will get back to you soon enough. And with that, I hope you guys enjoy this, and I will see you guys on Monday's stream. Bye.